All right, Brooke, thank you so much for agreeing to chat about your experience with doing hypnosis together and specifically with like what your experience in the quantum time technique practices, like clearing emotions, clearing some of the limiting beliefs that weren't serving you. And you had a very specific goal when we first started together. Um, which I definitely want to talk about, like what your feeling is around that goal. But then I know that we also observed some extremely powerful ripple effects of this work too. So, what was the initial goal that you started with?
So the initial goal was that as somebody who struggled with body dysmorphia for 2+ decades and an eating disorder for about 10 years, it was just my body checking was still kind of out of control. I've done a lot of healing with food, with body image, over the course of my life, but I was just really stuck. I was really stuck on the body checking. And I went through a pretty intense health crisis over the last year and a half that ended in having major surgery. And during that time, I really had no control over my body in any way, it felt like. Um, and the body checking then got a little bit worse because I was also dealing with some symptoms that changed how I looked. And it just really sent me into a place where the body checking was taking so much of my energy and so much of my happiness away and so much of my time, that I was just really ready to release it, even though I was still a little scared too, because it was, kind of like a security blanket in a weird way. But I just kind of got to my wits' end with it, and I was ready to say goodbye to it.
And how are you feeling about that body checking now?
It's almost the difference is really crazy. I still, during high stress or, really intense moments, feel that pull to body check or to start thinking about what do I look like right now, and to start kind of that little voice is kind of still there, but it no longer runs my life. And there are some times where it's silent. And I think that's what's so incredible to me is I didn't expect it to ever be quiet, like ever in my life. I just always anticipated it being something I had to ignore actively. And now it's not that way. And I think it makes a lot of sense that in moments of really high stress or, a lot of external triggers, that my brain wants to kind of go, oh, let's go back to the old path. It's familiar and in a weird way, it's safe, even though it makes you feel like crap. And yet here we are, and it's not always my default anymore. And I think that's what's really crazy is that it's, I don't even have to actively deny it all of the time. Some of the time it's just not there.
And so for anyone out there who may watch this in the future, like we are accessing those unconscious pathways with hypnosis. And it doesn't mean that anyone is out of control of the experience, but we're walking around at any given time acting from about 10% conscious behavior and 90% subconscious. So when you started telling me about the body checking, and just like understanding some of the psychology of like why people body check and like what beliefs might underlie that are subconscious that may have been installed from like 0 to 7 or even generationally, like it may never have been a spoken word, but there was just always this like this is just a known thing that you know you have to look a certain way to wear a bikini and whatever it is. It's like there's some beliefs under there of like I have to be perfect, I'm not worthy. I've heaven forbid I'm able to like make a mistake and just like accept my humanness in that. And so there's a lot of that I was very curious about. So in the processing of like clearing emotion and some of the beliefs that you had about yourself as a person and not just your body, what else have you noticed changing beyond just the huge reduction in the body checking?
So many things. I mean, it's it's almost like I don't even know where to start. Like my relationship with myself has gone so much deeper. I actually feel like I know myself more than I ever have in my life. And I'll be 30 this year. And so it kind of feels like I'll be 30 actually in a few months when we're recording this. And it kind of feels like, I don't know, like not a happy accident because I don't think it happened by accident, but the fact that I have this relationship with myself that I've never had before, and I feel like I know myself on a much deeper level. Um, that's been really transformative in of itself. And the way that that's shown up in my life is in so many ways. I mean, it's been massive. One really big moment was I was wearing a bikini and I had put it on, and as somebody who used to literally hate being in a swimsuit under any circumstance, I was a little bit nervous about it. It was I hadn't been able to work out for a couple months. I had just had major surgery, so like I hadn't been exercising, so I was prepared to have a meltdown, if I'm being completely honest. And I put on my swimsuit, and of course, the Airbnb we were in has a giant, pretty much closet mirror as you walk out to the pool. And I was like, that's just why. But I walked by it, and I knew I was probably going to look. And I also didn't want to avoid it either. I felt like that wasn't really, I didn't want to avoid the trigger just because it might be there. And I walked by and I looked at myself and I was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I look pretty good. Don't love how this one part of my body looks, but what are you gonna do? Like, I just had major surgery a couple months ago. It's fine. It is what it is. I'm gonna like go out to the pool and enjoy my time with my family. And all of that happened though in a split second in my brain. Like I did not talk through that with myself. It was just I had that reaction. I looked at myself. I was like, and I actually was able to appreciate how I looked. And I was like, oh, I look cute. Like I kind of like did a little like check, and I was like, okay. And in that moment, I was like, what just happened? I have never ever had a reaction, one, that was that short lived in a bikini where I'm not constantly checking and going, oh, well, if this was a little different. So not only was it took so much less time out of my day and my time spent with my family, but I also had the moment where it's not all or nothing. And I was able to appreciate how my body looked and at the same time recognize I'm not perfect, and the expectation of like looking perfect was kind of not there anymore. Like I couldn't really find it. And then the third thing from that experience that was so mind-blowing is I realized how much I liked myself as a person. So the fact that my body wasn't perfect didn't matter. And I'm like getting emotional saying it.
I know
but,
that's the one that makes me just wanna.
Yeah, I mean, I literally never, if you had told me that I would be here at all in my life, I don't know if I would have believed you, because I've had body image issues since I was in fourth grade, and to be in a mirror, be in front of a mirror in a swimsuit after not working out for, 2.5 months, and to feel good about it, and then to be able to not just feel good about it and have that be the defining point of my day, not going, okay, I feel good about how I look, so now I can enjoy my day. It was oh, cool. I feel like I look pretty good. Let's move on. It wasn't the gateway to my happiness, and I think that has just been so profound. I've also had some social interactions and just a couple life events that have happened since the time of starting hypnotherapy, and my reactions to those events have been so neutral, when in the past they would have been things that sent me into an anxiety spiral, panic attack for maybe more than a day. I mean, they would have taken over my brain and I would have been living in fear. And these events happened, and I still had emotions around them, but they did not take over my life. And that has also been shocking to me, and also so cool to kind of have a non-reaction. Um, and so it's just been, it's touched like pretty much every aspect of my life. You know, we had this goal of let's focus on the body checking, and yet, and we did that, and yet the ripple effect it had in every other area of my life has been just as impactful. So it's been amazing and incredibly transformative.
It's so cool. And I'm so appreciative that you're talking about it because um, when I'm trying to describe it to someone in a way that is believable, it's challenging. And like, I know because I've experienced it firsthand, like having to um, have all of this work facilitated on myself, like
Yeah,
also experiencing like this deeply transformative process of like the power of being able to learn from something that was hard
yeah,
in doing the quantum time technique and seeing like how our attachment, like our emotional attachment to a person, place, or thing isn't necessary to gather wisdom from it. And it doesn't mean you'll
yeah,
never feel an emotion again. And it doesn't mean you won't have attachment that is positive. It just means that like we no longer have to waste all this time and energy somewhere that
yeah,
isn't serving us. And neutrality can be really powerful. And being able to see our responses is really
yeah,
cool. And so, most people have like one goal that they're working on, and that's helpful. Like we want to have something that we can measure
yeah,
to some extent, right? Even if it's something intangible, like I want to feel more peace. We can create a structure for that so that
right,
when someone has moved through a package of sessions that we can say like, well, what are you going to hear and see and feel and smell and taste as a person who feels more peace
yeah,
versus like the more tangible of like, I can look in the mirror now and it doesn't
yeah,
take over my day. And it doesn't have to mean anything if like I am a little bloated today. Like it doesn't mean that
yeah,
I'm a failure. It doesn't mean that now I'm not allowed to eat dinner. Like it just means like, nah, that's my
yeah,
body today. And I'm gonna be
yeah.
really compassionate.
Yeah, and I think that's what is so interesting is the comfort I've been able to find like in myself around things that are really triggering because there's still triggers, obviously life is life and things come up, but to be able to actually turn inward and find a sense of stability and comfort and safety is something that I've never been able to do. And it's not something that I anticipated coming from tackling the body checking. And so that was like a really lovely surprise. To all of a sudden feel like, oh my God, I really like myself. Like I like who I am as a person. And this kind of internal knowing of who I am too that I feel pretty secure in, and I don't know if I've felt that way up until now. Um, so it's amazing how far how far everything reaches and how interconnected everything is. Um, yeah, it was an amazing experience, and to be able to take that forward into different aspects of my life and to really be able to access that space and that energy um has been just really empowering. So,
It's so cool. And like it's not surprising to me having like done this with so many people and experiencing it myself that we see that ripple effect, but it's also really cool to like hear exactly what your experience has been and like see the change. Even like the, I'm sure people have already started saying these things too, but like the look in your eyes is different. Like still the same face, you still have the same
yeah,
nose, but it is like your spirit is now allowed to shine through.
it's so interesting you say that. I've been told by multiple people that I'm glowing. Like multiple people, coworkers, friends have seen me and been like, you just like you're glowing. Like you just like look so, and they can't like quite come up with a word. Um, but it's exactly that. And I think that they can't quite pinpoint what it is. And I actually had one coworker who, granted, I have not seen her in a couple months because I was out on leave for surgery, but I waved to her through like her office window, and then I went into her office, and it took her, as soon as I was in her office, she knew who I was, but she got up to give me a hug and she's like, I didn't even recognize you. And that was one of those moments where I was like, oh wow. Because I think when you're having this incredible internal experience, it can be, you can start to wonder, how is that going to show up in my external world? Like, can I bring it in my external world? And then to have multiple people kind of say those things to me and not really be able to pinpoint quite what it is. And I'm like, I know what it is. Like, I know what happened. And it's cool to feel like that shines through. But it is funny you say that because I literally have had that exact experience after doing this work.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool.
Before I did my facilitated clearing stuff, and just for people who are like, what do you mean by clearing? So we typically would start with clearing what we call the big six emotions. So anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, shame. And we always ask the unconscious mind if it's okay to clear it. Sometimes it's a no, and there's something else we have to do first. But they told us to take a selfie before we did it. And they're like, make sure that, your eyes are looking straight into that camera. And then, like, after you've done all of it, like, take another selfie. What do you see? Right.
So cool.
And even for, the folks who've gone through this, who have been like the most, like, feeling the most downtrodden, they're able to see like this self-compassion shining through that wasn't there before somehow. And it's just like, it's different. And that change can feel scary sometimes, even though you're like, something has to change because I feel miserable. But like that part of our brain that wants to keep us safe and protected and stuck, sometimes we'll be like, resist the change. And so
no.
and so this is a process of, like, in some ways, like, not bypassing it, like not gaslighting that resistance to
Yeah.
change, but actually like allowing someone to gather so much wisdom and self-compassion, and being able to, instead of like looking back over your shoulder for like, what are you trying to run away from in life, and what are you realizing, like, oh, I don't want
Yeah.
that, I don't want that, but like actually being able to turn around and look forward and move forward.
Yeah.
So does that sound like kind of what we did?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, that is 100% accurate. And it's also, yeah, it's understanding what you actually want. And that can be really hard to define because a lot of the time it's like, well, I know I don't want these things, but I don't know what replaces them. And there were times where it did feel really scary. And there are times still where I'm kind of presented with, do you want to react in the way that you really want to react, or do you want to react in maybe an old habitual way? And some of the time, it's not just default to react in like the new way, and that's okay. But it is interesting when you're almost presented with a choice, and that awareness to even notice that you have a choice is huge. But it is very cool when it's the default as well. And I've had a lot of experiences where it's just that higher self reaction is now the default. And that's just, it's been really cool. And it's almost, when it happens, it almost takes me a second to notice. And I'm like, wait a second. That's so different than how I would have reacted a few months ago. So yeah, you described it perfectly to a T. And I had to laugh when you were saying, and sometimes your brain is like, so you gotta do this first. And we had that happen where before we could clear guilt and shame, there was a limiting belief that had to be cleared before. And that was just really cool to see my brain kind of offer that up and say, actually, before we do this, we need to do this. That was a really, really profound experience as well. So
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Is there any words of wisdom that you might give to someone who knows that they're craving something deeper, like a deeper connection to themselves, a better understanding of themselves. They have a goal they're working towards, but they're really hesitant about like investing in themselves or doing this type of work. Is there anything that you would say to them?
So I think I would start with I've been in therapy most of my life, just from a little kid to an adult. And I've done a lot of growth and work in cognitive behavioral therapy. And my therapist and I, after this last year, this health crisis, she was fully supportive of me doing this program. And she actually suggested some form of hypnotherapy because she felt like we had really tried everything we could to get in there and figure out how to kind of wrench these things free, how to get through and have these breakthroughs. And we just couldn't quite get there with my conscious mind. And then with hypnotherapy, it was like done deal. My brain, it was so cool to kind of see my brain in that way and to understand a little bit more. Um, so I would say if you're, a little bit concerned about the investment or wondering if it's really going to work or just kind of afraid of what might come up, like your brain is not going to give you anything that you can't handle. But two, making this choice to invest in myself is one of the, I'm going to cry, best decisions I've ever made. And it has changed my life in more ways than I ever could have anticipated. So if you're really feeling like you're at your wit's end and you need a change and you've maybe tried other things or, have been fighting for so long and you just can't quite get past it, this might be the best possible thing you could do. And I can't recommend it enough. I'm not overstating it when I say that it has transformed my life and that I feel like I don't feel like a different person. I feel like I'm actually myself, which in a way it does feel like I'm a different person because I think for such a long time I didn't really know who I was and I couldn't access my true self. And now I can. And so I think, maybe in a way I am a little bit of a different person, but to me it doesn't feel like that. It feels like coming home. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I'm gonna keep crying. So
Oh, if I could reach out and hug you, I
I
would.
know.
Thank you so, so much. I hope that someone out there who's been resisting some deeper work and some change is touched by this message. And I appreciate you so much. And I'm honored to have done this work with you.
Thank you.